Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another exciting edition of HR Mentorship session, one of our leadership series. And today we have the honor and privilege of engaging, discussing, listening to one of the senior HR leaders in this part of the world. And in fact, anytime from now, she'll be coming up. As always, she arrived very punctually. Anytime from now, she will come up, but in the next 1 to 2 minutes, let's quickly use this opportunity to reach out to our friends, professional colleagues, our mentees. One thing I've noticed about this series is that not only are leaders joining, leaders are also bringing their team members to come and learn, to come and listen. Many times we pray, and when we pray, God listens to our prayers. One of the ways is by bringing instruction, bringing advice, bringing counsel. You will learn from the successes, from the near misses, even failures, and you will see how everything ties together for good. All right, so we have already started technically. I'd like to say if you have any questions, anytime from now, feel free to begin to drop it in the chat box. Please drop it in the comment box. Time permitting, we may also allow a few people on mute and ask their questions directly. Okay, also do me a favor. All your key learning points, highlight the nuggets, wisdom nuggets, also type them in the chat box. We also like to use our platform to encourage people to network. All right, so feel free to drop your LinkedIn profile. Also, do well to follow people who drop their LinkedIn profile. Okay, we are trying to build communities. We are trying to build friendship. We are trying to build relationship. We are trying to increase people's knowledge base, people's capacity, competencies. And that is why we are here. Okay, thank you so much. More and more people are joining, and I know more people too will still join. But before I bring her up to speak, I'd like 1 or 2 people in the chat box, can you just drop your expectations for this evening? Just in maybe 1 word or 1 phrase or 1 sentence, your expectations for this evening. We've been having these sessions back to back, and it is intentional. We need to be deliberate about our career. We need to be deliberate about our life. If we don't massively build our capacity, we will not break through. All right. Breakthroughs are usually cumulative effect, of course, of consistent development. And I see breakthrough for someone coming anytime from now. Thank you so much, Seun Ademokoya, for joining us. I'm sure you will be blessed. Don't worry. We'll also record all our sessions. I will share with you the YouTube link where you can watch previous editions. The only thing is you may not be able to ask questions from previous speakers. We have right about now about 30 people on this call. Still, let us reach out on all our platforms to all your friends, family members. This is a completely free event. However, it is important we are selfless. Let people know that they should be here. If you have questions, begin to drop in your questions now. Don't wait till the end. This session is called 90 minutes with an HR leader. So we are ending on the dot of 90 minutes. In other words, 8:30, we are out of here. All right, I think I've spoken a lot. I'm excited, as you can see. To be fair and sincere, I think I've listened to Emma Clark maybe about 10 or 15 times or thereabout. Each time I listen to her, great things happen for me. New insights drop for me. My eyes are open in new opportunities. All right. You will see why I am energetic. You will see why I'm so excited we are having Emma Clark today. Please, one more favor. Put away every form of distraction, all right? Focus. Take your biro, take your paper. You are going to jot things down. You are going to see actionable pathways that will unfold for you. Now, it is my honor at this point to hand over to my mentor, to my leader, to my boss, my sister, please, with all the forms of loving emoticons you can muster, let's welcome to this prestigious platform. One of us, by the way, she has been on this HR mentorship team for a long, long time. Emma Clark, you are welcome. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are you all doing?
Good evening. You need to mute one of your mics.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but I suggest, I think you have two devices on. You may want to mute one of them.
I have two devices on, but I've muted the other one. Okay. Can you still hear an echo? I've muted the other one, so you can't. I've even removed the sound from the other.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
All right. So I hope that everybody can hear me, because it's always very important to confirm that. All right. Good. Good evening. Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Hi. How are you? It's great to be back. I'm happy to be here today. I have been asked to talk to you about my HR journey. I don't know why you always likes me to talk about that, but it's great to be back here, to have this privilege to speak with you very briefly today for about 90 minutes. Okay, so those of you who are familiar with me, some of you are not. Always you know that I like to engage, I like to network. So I believe there's some people from the TCN HR community who are also here. There are people from different backgrounds, people who are here from Lagos, people who are here, from different parts of the country, or probably even out of this country. So I just want to get to know you a little bit. So I'm watching the chat. Can you just pop in the chat your name, your location, and just say something very interesting, about yourself, or, that you might want us to know. You might also want to pop in your LinkedIn profile address so we can all start connecting and getting to know each other. And then it would be interesting to know what community you're from. Are you just from the HR mentorship community? Are you from the TCN HR professionals community, or from some other community, or even from my own community, the Learn with Emma Clark community? So it would be very interesting to find that out. So if I could just see, I'm looking at the chat room. So if you could just let me start seeing that. Hi, my name is Tosi, my name is Emilola, my name is Emmanuel. Whoever is out there, please just pop your name in the chat room. Let's know where you're dialing in from, all right, where you're connecting with us from. And let's also know what community you are in, so that I can just have an idea of who is here. Okay, and then I will begin to share my screen. Yemi, I hope that can you make it possible for me to share my screen, since you are the host now? Yemi, can you make it possible for me to share my screen so that I can do that? Hi, Augustina, HR Mentorship community. You're in Lagos. Nice to meet you. Anyone else out there? Temi Tope, hi, how are you? Fola Shade from Lagos, how are you doing? Temi Tope, you're dialing in from Lagos. You're in both communities, so that's amazing. Nice to meet you. Fumi, hi, how are you? You're from the HR Mentorship Group. Josephine, how are you doing? You're connecting from the Lagos TCN. You're connecting from Lagos and you're in TCN HR. So I can see that I have a mix of communities here, and I'd like to see more people putting in information about themselves, so that I just get an idea. And the reason I say this is this presentation I'm going to make, I've made it before, all right? So I just want to have an idea of who is here so I can tailor it to suit your needs. All right, good evening, Yinka, how are you doing? You're connecting from Ibadan. Daniel, hi, how are you? You are connecting from Lagos. No, Daniel didn't say where he's connecting from, but hello anyway. Bolanle, hi, how are you? Lagos, TCN, Benedicta, Wigo, love you so much. Thank you so much for coming, all of you who are putting in your names. I will now share my screen. I don't know what's happening. It seems that Yemi did not enable me to share the screen, so just hold on a second so that I can see. All right, I'm not able to share my screen, so I need to find out what is going on. All right, I should be able to share that screen with you. All right, just give me a few seconds. Let us just find out why I cannot share the screen. If we cannot share the screen, don't worry, I will just talk us through this, okay? I have the presentation on another, it's just I will let you have it later on. all right? Because I was going to project something for you to see as I'm talking, okay? So just give me a few seconds to check to see if I can fix this screen sharing matter. And then if I can't, we'll just get on with it, all right?
Hello, Emma.
Hi, how are you? Benedicta, how are
Hello,
you
Emma.
doing?
Yeah, I'm
How you
good.
doing?
I'm good. I noticed it seems it's the other device that you logged on that he made you host. Could you check that?
Yeah, let me check that. Let me see what is happening there and see what is okay. Okay, I understand. All right. Thank you for that, Benedict. I was wondering what was going on. Yeah. Okay. You see, two heads are better than one. Even more heads are better than one. All right. So I think we sorted out that problem. And I can start projecting now and we can get on with this meeting. I think it's a question of too many cooks spoiling the broth, too many devices spoiling the broth. All right, so let's get going. This is where I want to be. All right, so Yemi has asked me to share with you about my HR journey. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to try to just do that. I will share that journey with you. Talking through my HR journey, and the essence of making this presentation is just to give you, just to encourage you and to use this to teach you some things about career development, especially within the human resources management space. All right, just hold on a second. I am trying to get my presentation to share. I will just refresh. All right. Sorry about that. I didn't know that I was muted. Let me start again. So Yemi has asked me to talk about my HR journey. And he said something about talking about the breaking the glass ceiling. I actually do not want to present it like that. What I want to do is to talk about my challenges. I want to talk about the successes. I want to talk about the opportunities, because using this method will enable me to teach you something about career development in the human resources management space. All right, so I'm going to push on, and forgive me if I'm presenting this way because for some reason Canva is not allowing me to um, I don't know whether it's between Canva or whether it's my Wi-Fi. I don't know, something is happening. Let me try again. All right, so I will just present like this. Okay, fine. I think that I'm able to overcome this challenge now. All right, what again? All right, so I'm going to be talking to you about my challenges. I'm going to talk to you about the opportunities, and I'm also going to share with you about some of my success stories. Okay. Now, to be able to understand, for us to be able to understand what my HR journey has been all about, I think it's pertinent for me, first of all, to start with my background, just talking to you a little bit about my background, where I started. You know, every time I think about my HR journey, I say to myself, I ask myself this question: how did I get here? Okay, how did I get to this point where I am now in HR? Because I did not start from HR, and I have about what I have about what I started in 1993, so I have almost 30 years of post-call experience. Okay, and 30 years ago, when I first started, when I first graduated from university, if anyone had asked me, will you be in the human resources management field? It would not have even been one of the sectors that I would have said that I would be a part of. Okay. And to understand, to get us to understand what it is that I'm talking about, I will just give you a little bit of my background and tell you where I started from and how I got to where I am now. All right, so first things first, my mother, my father, my parents did not send me to learn about HR. They sent me to study law. It was one of the things that my father said to me just before he passed on a couple of years ago. But I don't even know how you got to this point where you are no longer in law, you're now in HR, doing something that I did not pay for at all. So I started out, all right, 33 years ago, I would say it's 34 years ago, in 1988 at the Obafemi University, where my father sent me to study law. Okay, and I went there to study law, and to all intents and purposes, I spent 4 years at the University of Ife, which is now the Obafemi University. Great, and then from there, I went to law school, got my professional degree to practice, and after 5 years, and I did well. I was always in the top 20 or 30 of my class, all right? When I was in the University of Ife or University, at the end of that program, I swept all commercial law prizes, all right? I was the best graduating student in commercial law. So to all intents and purposes, my career was going to be of law. But I knew from the minute that I got to law school, I didn't know it's Ife, but I kind of knew it. You see, this was the way that it went. In those days, you only had about 2 or 3 choices when you were going to university. The field is not as wide, the field was not as wide open as it is now. So in those days, when you were filling your exam form, you only had 2 choices, really. And that was either that you were going to study law or you were going to study medicine. I didn't like blood. So definitely I knew I wasn't going to medicine, even though I was a science and arts student. So the next logical thing was for me to study law. So 5 years I spent studying law, but I knew while I was doing my practice degree that I didn't really like law. Should I say I didn't really like law? I actually liked law, but I didn't like the practice of law, especially the way that it's being done in Nigeria. And I said, if I enter this profession, I'm just going to be a very unhappy person. So what did I become? In those days, we went to law school at the Nigerian Law School. And the banking industry was just opening up. And I was at the hostel at the Nigerian Law School there on Adiola Hopewell, Bankway thing. You used to see all these nice, shiny bankers going to work in their nice, shiny little cars, dressed in their nice suits, and we were children of SAP. I always tell people we're the SAP generation, we're the children of we were brought up during the time of Black austerity and punch. So the only thing that was on your mind at that time when you got out of university was thinking about how you get a job that would pay the bills, all right? At that time, what was the reigning profession? Banking. And I said to myself, look, you know what? I don't want to, I did a couple of interviews to get into 1 or 2 law firms. It didn't go well. All the partners could see that I wasn't really interested in what it was that I was doing, all right? So I decided to go into the banking industry, and I went into the banking industry with that intention to build a career in banking and get to the top of banking industry. And trust me, I was going that way. All right. Within 6 years, I had already become an assistant manager, and I was rising up pretty fast. And I was in part of the banking industry, all right, that can be very stressful. I was in marketing and sales, I was in relationship management, I worked in commercial banking, I worked in consumer banking, I did a little bit of customer service before I went straight into marketing, and I stayed there for the rest of my career in the banking industry. So to all intents and purposes, banking was a career that I had arranged for myself. Notice I said arranged, all right? And at that time, we never thought about passion. What do you really like to do? Like what we're doing now, and trying to find out what I love to listen to the young people right now. I'm envious of you because you can sit down and say, oh, I really want to follow my passion. I really want to do what it is that I want to do. In those days, we didn't have that opportunity, all right? Most of the time, we're just thinking of paying the bills. We want to pay the bills and we want to get to a job that supports the capacity to pay those bills. So banking was it. I was doing well. I was performing. I was a star. I was a high performer, all right? So there was nothing, I wasn't even in the unit of the bank that had to do HR. I was in marketing. But 10 years into my career in banking, I don't really have time, but I won't go into the details of what happened. 10 years into my career in banking, some things happened, within my organization, within the organization that I was in at that time. And another thing that I would like to point out is this: I was moving around quite a bit. All right, I never stayed in one place. If you look at my CV on LinkedIn, you'll see Emma never stayed in one place for a long time. So what was happening? That should have showed me that something wasn't quite right. Okay, so I kept moving around. I worked with some of the best banks in Nigeria. I worked in FSB International Bank. Before that, I worked at Crystal Bank of Africa, which became part of Standard Chartered, and then from Standard Chartered, it became UBA. From that organization, I moved to FSB International Bank, which is now part of the Fidelity Bank Group. From FSB International Bank, I moved to Zenith. From Zenith, I moved to Intercontinental, which is part of Access. And from that organization, I moved to a bank that was then called Bond Bank, which is now part of the Polaris Bank Group. And I just kept moving like that. So 10 years into my career, I remember at that time I was in Bond Bank, one or two things happened, all right, that made me rethink my life. All right. There was a police case. All right. And I was a colleague of mine and somebody else were asked to come and explain certain things at the police station. The long and short of it anyway was that I was cleared. Everybody could see that I was innocent. I was never charged. There was nothing like that. But at the point in time when the investigation was going on, I was asked to take a vacation just to go and leave for a while so that, they could, carry out whatever investigations. They also felt that I couldn't work while the stress was going on. And I remember very clearly during that time, usually when a holiday comes, I would get into the plane and I would travel. And I would go and see my sister, go and stay in the UK. Half of my family lives in the UK. So I'd go and stay there and enjoy myself. This time around, I refused to go. One, I couldn't go anyway because of what was going on. And then two, I thought this would be a good opportunity. I said to myself, 10 years straight, you've been working. You haven't been doing anything else with your life. Sit down now and start to think about who you really are and what it is that you want to do. And by the time I sat down and thought about it, and I really looked at it, I said, look, I'm not happy. If I really were to really ask myself, I wasn't happy. I was a very unhappy person, all right? And I realized, look, this is 1 decade. At that time, I think I was about 30, 31. And I said to myself, do I want to continue to do this? All right. And I said, the answer was no. I said, I do not want to continue to be a banker. All right. They cleared me. There was no problem. In fact, as soon as I was rounding off with one bank, another job was waiting for me. Another bank was calling me and asking me to come and perform the wonders that I was performing in the other bank. All right. But I just said to myself, I do not want to do this. So the next thing was, what should I do? I left the banking industry. Everybody thought I was crazy. I gave up the car, I gave up the money, I gave up everything, and I walked out and I started not going back to this thing anymore. So I walked out and I pivoted into, I found out this is when I love to, anybody who knows me knows that I love to consult. I love to train. I love to recruit. And, the funny thing was, I didn't go directly into training. So I'll be very honest with you. When I left, I said, okay, well, let me just be a marketing consultant. I'm going to end up being a marketing consultant, providing marketing and sales services for people who want to come into Abuja. Because at that time, I was living in Abuja. And I did that for a while. And I also found out that was not what I wanted to do. So I think one day, my mom is a trainer. One day she asked me to take a class for her or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It was a good friend of mine who asked me to do it. And I started training. And I realized this is what I love doing. I go from one class, it went to another, and then it went to another, and then it went to another. And before you knew it, I had found a way. I started to unravel what I really, really loved to do. So that really is how I got into I ended up with HR, all right? But it took me a long while. I'm trying to be very honest, and because Yemi has asked me to talk about this journey. To be very honest with you, I never wanted to be, even when I was training, people would say, oh, you're in HR. And I would say, no, I'm not in HR. I'm a consultant, all right? I'm a business consultant. I do a lot of business consulting. I never wanted people to give me that toga, HR. And I will tell you why as I go on. But the end point is this. 33 years later, where am I now? I've gone from being a lawyer to being somebody who has ended up in the HR community. All right, so what am I trying to say? My journey in HR was accidental and pivotal. It was fueled by my natural ability to train, coach, and mentor career professionals and organizations. And it was fueled by my love for identifying talent and nurturing talent, which has grown into a passion for providing people management and behavioral solutions. So I am not like the normal person. Maybe that's why Yemi likes me to come and talk about this, all right? Because I am not like the normal person who gets up in the morning, who got up in the morning when they finished from university and they said to themselves, I want to be an HR professional. I was not like that, all right? I always say jokingly, I did not find HR, HR found me. So what do I want you to understand from that story that I just told you? God will lead you to where you are supposed to go. All right, I've learned that. If you trust God and you are sensitive to God and His leading, He will lead you to where you're supposed to go to. All right, and you have to be sensitive because I just refused to for a very long time. All right, I refused for a very long time to really understand that HR was where God was leading me to. HR was where God was taking me to. I did not want that HR toga. I kept fighting against it. All right. And what am I saying to people? You've got to constantly reposition and constantly reset your thinking, be ready to pivot, and you've got to also be ready to change your course. All right. Because if God has gone one way and you are on the other way and you're refusing to align with what God is going to say, you're going to be stuck. All right. And you're not going to be able to move any further. And that was what happened to me at one stage of my career. So let me talk about my initial challenges. What were the challenges that I had initially when I first started in the industry? For one, I had no theory. I was coming from law, okay? I was coming from law. At one time, I even made a detour into English. And then I landed up in HR. But before I landed up in HR, let me tell you something. I had no understanding of what HR was all about. I had no theory. I had no evidence-based knowledge to back what it is that I was doing. I had no professional certifications or qualifications because people want to know that you know what it is that you're doing. I had no experience in HR management or consulting. And then I had this problem where people always constantly wanted to put me in a part of the business that I didn't necessarily want to remain in, but that is where everybody wanted to keep pushing me, all right? So this is it. These were the challenges that I had. And the reason that I had no theory or evidence-based knowledge backing my practice was because I was unable to get it quite quickly. Actually, it took me about 10 years. I'm being very honest with everybody here. And this is why you must do what you can as fast as possible to understand where it is that you're supposed to be. It took me about 10 years, it took me a decade to really realize that you're not really just in business consulting. The aspect of business consulting that you need to concentrate on is HR. Everything that you're doing in your life points to you being in HR. So you need to sit down now and start getting the education that that's necessary for you to be able to practice very well in the field. So these were some of the challenges that I had. And this challenge became very, and the thing about me is that, and I'm not saying this I'm not saying this boastfully. I'm very smart. I pick up things very quickly. You only have to tell me, oh, what do you think about this? I will go and take some time, go and read about it, and I will understand it. I'm always reading, I'm always studying, I'm always trying to grasp knowledge of what it is that is going on. So as time went on, and I knew that HR was where I was being, pulled to, I started to study a lot about HR. I started to read a lot about HR. But one day, I told you that I was getting a lot of programs, a lot of training programs, and then from training, consulting opportunities in HR started coming up. People will say to me, you train so well. And because you train so well, then you probably have the capacity to be able to solve this HR problem. You probably have the capacity to solve this people problem. And that's where I now started to become more ingrained into the HR profession. And of course, as I told you, because I'm very good at reading and gaining an understanding of what things are supposed to be all about, I would go and read and understand very quickly what the client wanted me to do. Nevertheless, there was a point in my career where an organization called me and they said, we want you to sort out our culture in the organization. We have a problem with culture. You handled it, they gave me a particular project to handle. I did it so well that the organization then said nobody else will be able to handle this project except Emma. We love the way she handled this other project. So I remember putting in my papers, I did the proposal, etc., etc., and then I put the papers forward and gave them to the organization. And when it got to the management, they looked at my profile and they said, no, she can't handle this project because you know what? There's nothing in her background that shows that, yeah, she does all these programs, blah, 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 but where is the HR training? And I remember that I had to go get a couple of colleagues of mine. We got together, and that was when they now said, okay, we will actually be interested in doing this project. And that was like a light bulb going on up in my head. Emma, you're doing HR, you're practicing HR. You've been in HR for almost a decade, whether you like to call it HR or not. Go and now get your certification so that people can actually take you seriously. So I did a crazy thing. I already had a consulting practice that was thriving. Anyone who knows me well knows my company Theos. It was thriving, it was doing well. We're handling major projects. I did a crazy thing. I shut down everything around me, shut down my business, and went abroad to get my master's in HR, human resources management, okay? So that I would have the theory, all right, and the evidence-based knowledge to back my practice. So that when I go into a consulting, or when I go into an organization to say that I can do this or I can do that, nobody is going to ask me, and trust me, that doesn't happen anymore. It really doesn't, all right? Nobody would say to me, you don't have any understanding or knowledge of HR or any evidence to show why, all right, you are in HR practice, all right? So I did that and we to get some understanding of HR. All right, so what is the learning point? Because everything that I'm saying, I want to at least give you some things, all right, that you will be able to take away. So what is the learning point from this issue? You've got to identify things that will prevent you from getting to where you are in your life in general and in your HR journey. For me, it was the lack of educational qualifications or certifications that would promote me as being someone who really knew what it was that I was talking about. So you've got to ensure you identify those obstacles to you achieving your desired career path, especially in HR, and you have to do what you can do to overcome them. And then, what else do I advise people to do at this point? You've also got to find a space where you can enter into HR. A lot of people come to me and they say, Emma, I want to get into the HR profession. I don't know how to get into the HR profession. I don't know how to do this. And I say to them, one of the easiest things for you to do would be to find a space, a niche, a little opening where you can get into HR, start practicing HR through that space, and then expand your capabilities within the industry. In my own case, what was the space? The space was training. I used training to get me into the HR profession, even though it was inadvertent. And through training opened up the door for me to get into other aspects of HR. So find that space where you can enter into HR and look for that low entry barrier point and then get in there and start practicing HR. So what have been my successes? What have been the opportunities? All right. And then, I'm not just going to talk about myself alone. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of advice that I think, that I hope will help you to build yourself up within this community. It's a beautiful community to be in. I told you I ran away from it for a long time, but now that I'm here, I don't want to be anywhere else. All right. I want to expand into other area, okay, of the business or business management, but I don't think that I will ever leave HR. All right. So what have I gained? I've gained a reputation of becoming a reputable trainer, recruiter, consultant for tier one organizations and government establishments. I have worked with tons of different organizations. I have had the capacity to work with tons of different career professionals. All right. And this is it. It's been an amazing experience to have to be, to have that opportunity to work in and out of different organizations. And that has given me a broad understanding of what goes on in different sectors of your economy. HR also gave me an opportunity to because people often ask me, how did you get to study HR? And I say, well, I got a designer scholarship from the British Uni, and I went to the London School of Economics, one of the best universities for human resources management in the world. And I went there to study HR and organizational behavior. I don't think that I would have had the opportunity to get the Uni scholarship, or to even go to university to study, or to even go to that kind of university to study, if I had not chosen HR as the subject that I wanted to concentrate on. All right. And then what has HR done? HR has made me quite popular too as well. It's enhanced my leadership and visibility and my credibility. All right. And HR is it's not law. Funny enough, it's not law that has made me popular, or banking that has made me popular. It is actually HR. When people say, oh, somebody came up to me in church today and said, oh, are you so and so person? Oh, it is because I know you for HR that, I recognize you. So that is it. 3 things. It's giving me, it helps me to eat. All right. And it helps me to meet my obligations. All right. So HR helps me to make money. So that's the first thing. HR got me an education. HR also has enhanced my visibility and it's made me successful. All right. So that's what I did. Then I'll tell you a fourth thing that I didn't put here. HR has opened up so many opportunities for me to meet different people from different. I met so many different people. Not because of I met a lot of people when I was in the banking industry, but with HR, I have met tons of people, either in the classroom or in the different communities that I'm in. All right. And then there's a 5th thing that people don't talk about. HR gives you a 360-degree view of organizations. When you are in the HR community, you get to understand how organizations and people work. All right. So those are the things that HR has given to me. All right. And I really feel that I am extremely blessed to be a part of this community. So what is the learning point for me? The learning point that I want to share with you at this point is that it doesn't matter how late it is, how old you think you are, you can make the necessary changes in your life and build a future for yourself if you have decided you want to be in the human resource community. All right. Avoid, just don't care about being pigeonholed. People would tend to pigeonhole me, whether it's in my family or friends or whatever. People will say, oh, but you're not an HR person. You are meant to be in law, okay? And then it was banker. That's where you're supposed to be. How can you decide to go from law to banking and then now to HR? I did it. All right. I did it because at the end of the day, after struggling and fighting against something that I was naturally called to be, this is where I'm supposed to be. All right. I love to help people. I love to build people. I love to work with organizations to help them to become more effective. Where else? What other subjects will help me to do that? Is that not HR? It is HR. So what I tell people is don't hesitate to join the HR community if this is what you really want to do, and this is where you believe that you are supposed to be. All right, now, why should you want to be in HR? Why am I urging you? Why am I saying to you, join the HR community? Why am I not urging you to join the legal? You can join the legal community too if you like. It's a very honorable community. But why am I urging you to join? Why should you want to be in HR? All right. I mean, I hear a lot of people. I was talking to some people at the program that I was at yesterday. Some people came to me and said to me, "Oh, want to be in HR." Da, 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 da. There are many beautiful reasons for you to want to be in HR. Number one, HR, like I said earlier, is the engine room of every business. As people are the most important resource in an organization. If you are looking for what, it's not the machines, it's not the, yeah, the machines and the equipment are important, but take the people away. I know that the world is going to probably get to a point where a lot of things are going to be done by machines. But let me tell you something, there is a limit to what machines can do. People are the engine room of a business, all right? And they're the most important resource in an organization. And when you become an HR manager or you become an HR officer, you are the person who controls the most important resource in the community. Look at Nigeria as a whole. Yes, we are a very blessed nation. We have oil, we have other minerals, we have arable land, we have so many different things. But I tell you something, what is the most important resource in Nigeria is not all those things I've mentioned, it is the people within Nigeria, the resources, the human resources in Nigeria. Why is it that when you take Nigerians out of here and you put them in any country in the world, Nigerians excel, they thrive? And it is the HR manager that is responsible for building up. It's the HR professional that is responsible for building up people. So if you want to become influential in business, one of the best places to be in is HR. It's not just finance. I know people make it seem like finance is the be all and end all of this world, or marketing, or some operations, or some other functions within the business. But I say no. The HR manager is probably one of the most influential people to have within an organization. If your HR is bad, the entire organization is going to be bad. All right. So it is a good place to be because it is a good place to build up influence and visibility within an organization. HR also teaches you how to positively influence people at an individual, group, and organizational level. So if you truly like helping people like I do, I love to help people. I mean, if you ask me to do this from morning till night, I don't have a problem with it. All right. I'll give you an example. Anytime people call me to talk to people, to train people, I'm ready. But if you call me to do something else, I probably might not respond to you as fast as I would respond to you if you called me to help train people, consult for organizations, build people up, make people more effective. It's what I love to do. And if you are that sort of person who loves to positively influence people at an individual, group, and organizational level, all right, this is where you should be. It is the HR profession that you should be in. Like I found out after struggling with this for a very long time. All right. And then the HR profession, it's a stable profession. If you get in there, it's a linear profession, and I'm going to talk to you about that linearity later on before I finish this presentation. It is a stable profession. If you get into HR, you know you're in the profession HR, and you can grow as an HR professional and remain there for as long as you want to. All right. So what are some of the important things that you should know about HR? What are the important things that I want you to leave here with concerning HR? So it's not just about my challenges, and the opportunities and the successes that I've had with HR. I also want you to understand certain things that I have learned, all right, about HR, and some things that are very important for you to be here with today. All right. So firstly, it's a highly skilled profession. All right. So I want people. So this is now where I confess a little bit further and tell you why I didn't want to be labeled an HR profession. Until I went to university, I didn't understand how highly skilled a profession HR is. I had studied law. I'd even done a little bit of English. I worked within the banking industry, and those professions were considered to be some of the most exalted professions in the country. I had noticed that, HR was kind of like, the jumping ground for everybody in my own time, all right? So it was like, if you're not doing well, if you're not doing HR is where they send you to. Anybody could do HR, or so I thought, until I actually studied HR. I got to find out that HR is a highly skilled profession for highly intelligent people, all right? And one of the unfortunate things is but I know that CIPM, SHRIM, all those organizations are coming up now, and they are really dealing with this issue. And I am so happy with them for doing this, because CIPM, they're now insisting, look, if you don't have your certifications, if you don't have your degrees, you cannot practice HR. Because I always tell people this, look, you have to go through 5 years before you can practice law. You have to go through 7 years before you can become a doctor. All right? You can't just get up and decide that you want to be in advertising. There is a body that, I don't know whether they are strong as they used to be before, but there is a body that supervises advertising, and so on and so forth. But anybody can be dumped in HR and they can say that they are HR professionals. And that really isn't the correct thing. If you really want to become an HR professional, I remember that Eli was telling us the story the other time that he had to go, after practicing HR, he had to go and get his certifications in HR to make sure that he could practice straight the way that he wanted to practice it. All right. So it is a highly skilled, it's an honorable profession. All right. I tell people, I studied law. I studied a little bit of English. I worked in the banking industry. HR was the only profession that made me pick up the phone to call my dad to cry. And I told him, I said, I thought this was going to be easy. This is one of the most difficult things that I've ever studied in my life. Because if you want to be an HR professional, you have to understand a little bit of sociology. You have to understand a little bit of psychology. You have to understand a little bit of management. There's so many different things that you have to understand. You want finance. There's something put together that you have to study to become that skilled HR professional. All right, because you make critical decisions that impact, that can change people's lives, that can either raise people up or bring them down. You make critical decisions that can either increase the profitability of organizations or decrease the profitability of organizations. All right, it is a dumping ground, like I said, its full potential to affect. Another thing I want you to notice is the full potential of HR to affect individual and business performance is not recognized in many organizations. People do not understand. If your organization is not performing well, don't just check the finances. First of all, check HR. Check HR first of all right? And find out what is happening in the HR. Because if things are not happening properly in your organization, usually that problem stems from HR. Something in the HR is not quite as good as it should be, all right? And then wrongly, there's another thing that I want you to understand. And I want you to understand these things so that you can go out there and start fighting for the HR professional and holding up the honor of this HR professional, all right? So that people just don't treat us as being something that just put on the side. Okay, HR is there. When we're upgrading people and we're moving people up to the board, we're going to look for the finance people, we'll look for the operation people. I really feel very strongly about this. All right. So HR is also wrongly thought of as a cost center. Everybody's always talking about it as a cost center. Look at your organization. When you are having your discussions in your organization, think about it. What do they always say? HR is a cost center. HR drains money from the organization. All right. When in fact, HR is at the center of revenue and overall financial performance. Remember what I just said? If you get your HR wrong, your entire organization is going to be wrong. All right. So another thing that I want you to notice is choose what aspect of HR you want to be known for. All right. There's nothing wrong with being a generalist. What I generally tend to hear from people is they want to be generalists. Okay. Look, it's good to be a generalist, but it's also good to niche down and develop some specialist skills. For instance, I am not a generalist. I always tell people that I'm a behaviorist. I studied behavior, how individuals behave within organizations. I understand the entire value chain of HR. Please don't get me wrong. I studied both HR and organizational behavior, but I have niched down into organizational behavior. All right. And I want you to also understand that there are many different aspects of HR. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself in one area. I'm in one area of HR, and I'll tell you what area of HR that is. I am not an HR manager. I will be bored within 90 days. If you ask me to run, I can come in and run it for 90 days, maybe maximum 1 year, and then leave you to get on with your business. Okay, I am not an HR manager. I've been able to identify that is not the area of HR that I want to be in. For some of you, that's the area that you want to be in, and if that is the area that you decided that you want to be in, you've got to focus on building your skills in line with where it is that you have decided that you want to be in. All right. So what I just want you to know is that there are many different aspects of HR. All right, it's a multifaceted subject. It's a beautiful, I love it. I told you I have 3 different certifications. I'm in English, I'm in law, and I'm in HR. I love my HR. I absolutely love my HR. And I happen to love the area that I'm in, all right, which is organizational behavior. And I'm also going into coaching as well. And where did I decide that? Well, it was from HR, all right? So there are many different aspects of HR, and these don't necessarily have to do with the generalist or managerial areas, and that's what I want you to know. So you can either decide that you want to be a generalist, or you can decide that you want to be an employee relationist. There's a whole genre of literature on employee relations, okay? You can decide like me, you want to be a behaviorist, or you can decide that you want to go into organization. There's what you call the psychology of there's a colleague of mine who works with Yemi and I in the TCN HR. Those who know her very well, Tayo, she is in the psychological aspect of HR. All right, there is a psychology of HR. There's the behaviorist aspect of HR. There's the employee relations aspect of HR, and there are degrees or certifications to support each of these areas of specialization if you want to go into it. And then there are those who deal with occupational health. All right, they are the ones who deal with the health of people and the emotional and mental and physical well-being of people within an organization. So early on, don't get stuck in this thing of just being a generalist, all right, or being a specialist in pay, compensation, performance management, or whatever it is. Decide early. I decided when I finally decided, look, this track is where I'm going on. I looked at it and I said, I don't want to be a generalist. That is not the area of specialty. I don't want to be there. Okay? I can do it, but it's just not my passion. And I'm one person who believes you need to be driven by your passion if you want to continue to remain happy and fulfilled. All right? So the aspect I like, I have chosen, and that's where I want to, I've chosen to be. And that's what I want to leave you here with today. Before I will talk about a couple of other things and then leave us to, let's have an open mic time to just chat, questions, and if you want to ask me questions, I'm here with you. All right? But you have got to, there's one thing that I want you to leave with as we round off this session is, what area of HR do I really want to be in? All right. Now, there are different tracks also, just as there are different specialization, you can also be in different, take different tracks. All right. There's a managerial track. Those of you who are working with in organizations and you're heading or you want to head aspect of HR or the entire HR, that's the managerial track. And it's left to you to understand what skills you need to build, because there are specific skills that you will need to build to be able to build yourself as a manager, HR director in that organization or the different organizations you might decide to work in. Then there's the consulting track, which is the one that I am on. Okay, that is my track. I'm on the consulting track. That's where I love to be in. The reason I even studied organizational behavior is because organizational behavior is the specialization that prepares you to be a consultant. All right. So I'm on the consulting track. I love it. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else. Okay. So I'm on the consulting stroke coaching track. And then sometimes there's another track called the academic track, where you're training people to be in HR. Okay. And you can be there. It's a lovely place to be, where you're teaching people. I'm also thinking of entering that track because I love to, as you know, I told you I love to train, I love to teach. All right, so there's that track. You can decide that that's the track you want to go on. And then there's the developmental track. People don't even talk about that. All right, people who are in the not-for-profit sector, who are in the developmental sector, who are in governance, all right, who are there to help to develop the capacity of human beings within a specific society. All right, so it depends on sit down and think about it. A lot of the time when I talk to HR people, the only places where they can get into is into a company, all right, where they are going to work there for the rest of their lives, okay, in some kind of corporate organization where they'll be managers. That is not the only place to be in HR. There are many other places to be in HR. What I encourage you to do is to identify these tracks, identify the specializations, because the reason you have to do this is because each track and each specialization demands certain skills. All right. So if I were to decide today that I want to become a manager, there are certain skills that I will need to get to go into the managerial track of HR. If I wanted to go into academic, it means that I have to go and get a PhD so that I can, get a doctorate, so that I can go in there and teach within the academic setting. All right, so I just thought that you should know that. Now, I've got a short time because I want us, as I said, to have some time to engage, to chat, to do some open mic before this is over. what is the sixth thing that I want to talk to you about? All right. The sixth thing, and please, if you have questions ahead of time, you can drop them in the chat, or at some period in time when I finish making this presentation, we can just have an open mic and engage with each other. All right. So, some parting shots. What do I want you to understand now? Given that we have said, this is how I got into HR, this is why I got into HR. The reason I told you this story is that if I had learned earlier on that HR was where I was supposed to be, I wouldn't have taken so long to go and get my certifications, go and get my degree, sorry, in HR. I wouldn't have taken so, I would have done it in my 20s or early 30s, but I just could not find that, I just couldn't work it out, all right? And this is one of the things I ask people to do. When you're as early as possible, work this thing out, all right? Because if you don't work it out, people need you, all right? People need you to be in your space. If you don't, work this issue out quickly, you're going to miss that opportunity to impact on people's lives, all right? So work it out as fast as possible. You're also going to end up being very frustrated too as well. I was for a very long time until I discovered where I was supposed to be. So what are some key things I also want to leave you with as I exit from this session? Number one, HR has changed a lot, all right? From the days, my mom and I were talking about it earlier on today when we were having lunch, okay? HR has changed a lot. And one of the things that I tell people is this: make sure you get up to date with what is happening in the HR industry. I love the fact that Yemi Yemi organizes all these events. They are fantastic, all right? You've got to understand what is happening in the HR community today, all right? Because the HR of the post-COVID environment is very different from the HR that we were practicing prior to. In fact, what I would say is that the HR of the early years, the early parts of the 19th century, is very different from the HR that we're practicing now, all right? How did HR start in those days? What was popular in those days was personnel management. All people were interested in when it came to HR was what? Personnel. People were interested in just what? Payroll. What's the payroll? Sick leave, hiring, complaints. That was what HR consisted of in the early 1800s to the 1920s, all right? Nevertheless, from the 1920s to the 1995, some things happened in HR. And what was that all about? The late 1800s and 1920s were marked by what? The Industrial Revolution. And what people were interested in at that time was getting people to work machines, work factories, make the factories work better. There was a gentleman, for those of us who have studied it, who was known as Frederick Taylor. Frederick Taylor came up with this system of what is called scientific management. Science, where you can work, describe man as a machine, and time, and describe how man can work. And that went on to the early 1920s. People found out that, man is not a machine. At the end of the day, they found out that nobody was working well under the concept of Taylorism. So people started to work to find out what really makes human beings work. And that was what gave birth to the modern human resource management movement as we know now. All right. So people started to talk about things like job design, employee engagement, performance management, all of those things that came up in that period. And then we moved from that period to what we call the strategic HR period, where people now began to understand that, look, if you do not align your HR with the business of the day, your company is not going to work well. So that was what gave birth to the strategic HR management movement. And that was where we were till COVID came. Then we had COVID and all sorts of issues happened. We had to go back, to the home, work from home. Up till now, I was teaching an organization last week, a major Big Four consulting company last week. Most of them were working from home. And they have a hybrid work system where some of them work from home, some of them work from the office, all right? So things started to come up that people never really used to talk about before. Mental health, emotional health, how do you design work? What is the future of work? What is economics? How do you make people comfortable with, when they're working? And then, of course, there is the great topic of the great resignation. Everybody is resigning. The economy is not doing well. You hire people today, tomorrow they're going to go, all right? There's the topic of diversity and inclusion. How do you build diverse workforces? There's the topic of work-life balance. How do you balance? How do you get people to balance very well in their work life? So the question I always tend to ask HR professionals in my community, whatever community that it is that I get it, is how ready are you for the HR of today? Because that's what I've learned, okay? How ready are you for the HR? Are you ready for the HR of today, because the HR has changed. When you go for job interviews, when people are looking for managers now, when they're looking for consultants, when they're looking for people to manage different aspects of HR, people are looking for a different type of HR professional. All right. So now there's that 360-degree HR. All right. And what I encourage people to do is this: get to understand the theory and practice. Be like me. Go and understand the theory of HR. And I always tell people, when you're talking about theory, theory does not necessarily mean that it's academics, okay? And academics that have no impact on practical life. If you really want to find a lot of solutions to the problems that you're facing as an HR manager, go to the journals. I always tell people this wherever I go. If you go to the journals, you will find out that there are a lot of HR academics who have done research in the area of HR, and they have described the problems that you are facing within your organization. All right. So go to the journals, go and read these journals, go and read the case studies. A lot of these things, books will show you, all right, what is going on, or what they will give you the help that you need to be able to solve different issues that you need to solve within your organization. All right. Then there's also the issue about you getting familiar with the future of work. Understand technology. HR is becoming highly technological. All right. Understand the technological applications that you require now to support your business as an HR manager. Okay. All right. Understand, read about change. All right. About organizational resilience, change. You've got to understand things like change leadership, change readiness, adaptability. There's a whole school of study now called Agile HR, how HR managers need to become more agile. It's a whole field of study. All right. Upgrade your knowledge on employee well-being, health plans, emotional well-being. Find out about all these things. All right. You've got to. A couple of people who have their microphones on, I'm going to mute you. Sorry, because you are interfering with the class. Okay, so I've muted your mic. Your microphone is on. All right. So you've got to understand that issue of employee well-being. All right. Work typology and structure and all of these things. Okay. Very, 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 very important. All right. These are areas where you need to start to build your skills in. In fact, when Yabi said to me to come and present, I thought she was going to ask me to present on one of these areas, not on my HR journey, but it's okay. We will talk about that. All right, there's not enough time for me to talk about some of the other things that I want to talk about, but I would just also like to just mention something. All right, that I want, because I want to give an opportunity for us to just ask questions and for me to answer them. So I'll leave maybe at some other time you can call me to talk about some areas of HR that I wanted to talk about. I want you to also understand one thing about HR. Remember I said earlier on, you are the engine room of the society. I always carry this map around with me. You've got to understand who you are as HR. Okay, there are many different organizations, departments within any organization that you go into. There's the technology department, there's the operations department, there's finance, there are different departments. But I keep doing this, I keep putting each of the departments in the middle of this circle. And by the time that, I finished doing this exercise, what did I find out? The only department that can really stay in the middle and orient with all the other departments that are here is the HR department. All right? So the question I always like to ask people is this: how much of the different departments, because sometimes HR is we HR people, we're very linear. The only thing that we want to know about is HR. We don't want to know about anything else. One of the charges that I give to HR professionals is this: you must get familiar with every single aspect of the business. You must learn a little bit of finance, learn a little bit of operations, learn a little bit of everything that has to do with the organization. You must learn about these aspects, all right? So that when you go to meetings, and then also as a consultant, you're able to provide solutions that can solve different problems in different organizations, all right? So don't stay in your niche area. I always tell people, prepare for the next level of your career in your life, all right, in general. Don't just think about HR alone, because HR can be very linear. It's very linear. You just stay in that place. When HR is the only thing that you know from the beginning of the end of your career. You spend 30 years in HR, and then at the end of the day, all right, they can't put you anywhere else in the organization. All right. And lastly, I'm going to finish with this chart. This is the chart that I always play for the seats at the top of the table. All right. When I say, look, one of the problems that I also have with HR, and one of the things I want you to know so that you work against this and you fight to overcome this, is the fact that very often HR doesn't have a seat at the table. All right. And what do I mean by the table? The table is the C-level table. All right. Where you have chief finance officer, you have all the chiefs, and you can see it's very rare in organizations that you have CHRO. Most of the time, what you will have is the chief in charge of corporate services, who then covers HR. All right. So it means that HR is, you peak at a certain stage and you can't go further. So what do I advise people to do? Get familiar with other aspects of the business. All right. Get some certifications in finance. Get some certifications. Don't just stay in one place and say, oh, this is the only thing that I want to do. So that at the end of the day, when it comes to opening up the seats at the table, you will be able to advance and get a seat at that table because you have been that sort of person who has become a 360 HR person. All right, guys, so I want to stop here. There's so much more that I can say, but at this point, I will stop here. I know Yemi very well. He's a Toastmaster. At 8:30 on the dot, he's going to, bang the gavel and say, we are finished. So Yemi, I'll hand over to you if you are there, so that we can just have an open mic and question and answer time. And I'm here to just answer whatever questions, the ones that I know, the ones that I don't know, I'll tell you, go and read about them yourself. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Emma. All right, please let us appreciate Emma with a round of applause. Let's use our emoticons to reflect exactly how we feel. This has been very, very exciting. I was telling people on the WhatsApp group, in one of the groups, that if you are not on this call right now, you are a long time, Emma. Emma, I don't know, some people like to be in trouble. They will now be asking for help. Emma, people don't know that typically before the trouble comes, the help will have come. This meeting, all the things you are sharing will ensure some people don't enter trouble.
Yeah.
Because you are keeping them, but some people want to wait. That time it may be slightly too late. This has been mind-boggling. I'm sure some of the things you have showed, for example, the different tracks in HR, some people are seeing some tracks for the first time in their lives today. They are just fixated maybe on that HR managerial track, not knowing there are 5, 6, 7 options. And sometimes you might have started from one track and then you migrate. You know my story. Today, I have one strong foot in the academia, and there are some doors that are open to you in some alternative tracks. Don't stay in that crowded lane, except, of course, that is the only thing you want to do. Now, I like to say this. I know Imam may not like this, but Imam is an encyclopedia. Don't worry, she's not going to defer any question. All right? Do you have any question? Please type in your questions. That's the fastest way. Alternatively, you can raise up your hand. We will recognize you and ask you to ask your questions. Please try, let your questions be short and direct, okay? Let's maximize the remaining 25 minutes or thereabouts. Any question, please? And there must be question, there should be question, okay? But let me quickly ask you this question. I'm asking on behalf of myself and I. What's your perspective about this ongoing JAPA thing, this JAPA syndrome? You know, what's your perspective? Some HR people want to JAPA. Some HR people, they are thinking, should I go? I know you've been abroad multiple times. What are the prospects? So I'm asking from two perspectives. One, as HR managing other resources that are exiting the country. Two, as HR, some people here, they want to JAPA, they want to bail out. What do you have to say?
So the major, okay, so as it goes back to what I said earlier on, all right, about if I was going to talk about that, but because of time, I said to myself, this is not a, maybe one day you come and you call me and I'll come and talk about, I will tell you about this JAPA thing, all right? Look, it's not new. It was very prevalent way back in the 80s, the mid 80s, when we were also under the same leadership that we are under right now. That was actually when, and then we had this we had this song that we used to sing, Andrew, don't check out, or stay and build your country. Or if you remember that song, you are old. All right. So we had that, I think it was Vino, something or the other who sang that. And there was this advert about Andrew who wanted to check out. Okay. Now, why are people going? People are going because of the economy. That really is the economy. All right. Gideon, if you remember it, you are old, or somebody you know is very good. All right. So it is the economy. That is it. I doubt if people will leave this country if the economy was not as bad as it is today. Look at me. I went to university in Nigeria. I went to secondary school in Nigeria. I had the best education. I was looking at somebody was sharing on one of my groups the other day. Somebody was sharing our school fees in those days. I think my parents used to pay 90 naira per term for me to get the best education. I went to an international school and I got a fantastic education. But that is not the situation anymore. The economy is so bad. It doesn't offer much to a lot of people. I'm not saying it's all people. There are some people who are doing, look at what happened with Paystack. There are some people who are doing very well in Nigeria, but that does not apply. So people are frightened. People are worried. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said, look, Emma, I'm not leaving because I want to leave. I'm leaving because, one, I need to get my children educated. And the educational system in this country has gone to the, look, we all know what is happening. So that is what is fueling the Japa syndrome, the migration syndrome. All right. How should HR managers handle it? There is something that is called the unfolding. The truth is, you can't stop people from migrating because people are leaving not because they hate your organization or they hate the organization or they're necessarily dissatisfied with the organization. People are leaving because their lives are unfolding. If you want to understand this, and it goes back to what I'm saying about the journals, go back and read the history. I'll post it in the HR mentorship group. Go back and read the research on the unfolding model, studies that have been done on why people leave, why turnover happens in organizations. People have done that research way back it's not even a new research, it's old. It was done years ago to show you that people don't necessarily leave because they're dissatisfied with the organization. They leave because their lives are unfolding. So what HR managers have to do now, I was talking to somebody the other day, she says, Emma, I'm leaving. I'm taking a break from my organization and I'm going back to university to do some work, to do some studies there. All right. And I could tell she was not just going because she wants to study, she's taking her children abroad to go and study. Okay, in fact, I talked to 2 people like that last week. But one of them told me something. She says, you know what, I'm still going to be working for my organization when I'm abroad. So HR managers, you have to start thinking like that. When somebody comes to you and tells you, I'm resigning and I'm leaving, can you have that conversation of, can you work remotely? Why can't we start having conversations like that? Can we work remotely? I know there is the issue of tax, but that is even being sorted out right now. There is what is called the employer of record. What is the employer of record? The employer of record stands in between you, the organization in the local place, and the individual who is living in, say, Canada or England or wherever. So you have an employer of record who is probably Canadian, all right, a Canadian organization. What then happens? That person will technically work for the employer of record who then supplies you with that labor and takes care of all the tax issues and all those issues pertaining to multiple labor that may come up. It's something that HR professionals should go and study. Okay, so what am I saying? Don't just, it's going to happen. You can't stop. You're not the economy. This Japa thing is going to continue for as long as the economy is as bad as it is. All right, you cannot stop it. What you should start to do is to ask yourself, how can we continue to maintain this talent, albeit that the talent is going to another location? All right. I mean, maybe at another time you call me and we'll come and talk about Japa syndrome. And I'll tell you a lot of ways you can solve the loss of, because that's the major thing. The major thing is the loss of talent and the amount of money that you are losing every time someone exits and goes abroad.
Fantastic. I have 2 more questions for you that I would like you to address. This question is a little personal. I always put a personal angle just to something you probably didn't prepare for. Ima, can you tell us a little about your dad and how you managed to be his daughter?
How
I
I
hope
managed what?
to be his daughter and how you cope with
Oh,
the
that
honor of
was
being his daughter. I hope we
okay.
have literature
Our
students
father.
on this call. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a double problem. It's not even just my dad. I have my mom too. So I have two people who are, yeah, quite, so I'm dealing with two problems. You're having people who are well known and people who are highly intelligent. And you have to live up to those expectations, whether you like it or not. But I tell you how I've been able to overcome that. And that's because I have amazing, I am blessed. If there's one thing that I feel that God blessed me with, God blessed me with amazing parents. My father was an extremely supportive person. I'll tell you a very personal story. When my father was leaving, I'll try and tell the story without crying. When my father was departing, he was on his, he was going. And one day I was sitting in the corner with him. We all used to take turns to just sit with him and keep him company. And he saw me sitting in the corner, even in his very weak state. And he asked me a question. He said, Emma, where is your laptop? Because anyone who knows me in the house knows that, or even in any office that I'm in, the first thing you're going to see me is me and my laptop. And they surround me, okay? I'm always my laptop or my devices. If I'm not reading, I'm checking something. And he said to me, where is your laptop? And I said to him, well, Dad, this is the hospital. I didn't want to bring it because I didn't want to disturb you. And he said something to me. He said, Emma, this was about 3 or 4 days before he died. He said, Emma, I do not want to see you come into this hotel room without your laptop, because I know once you have that laptop, you are working. And once you're working, I know everything is okay. So what am I saying? I had a very supportive father. And that level of support, he supported me. Look, he wasn't very happy about me becoming an HR professional. My dad trained me to be a lawyer and he wanted me to be a lawyer. So that is it. He didn't like it when I was in the banking industry either. All right, you used to tell people, this profession that you're in, I don't like announcing that profession to anybody. Okay, I trained you to be a lawyer. But you know what? Despite all of that, he supported me. So I think that is the answer that I've had. And it's the same thing with my mom. My mom is exactly like, sometimes I'm ready to fight with her because I'm like, leave me alone to be independent. I want to be independent. Leave me alone. You don't have to support me with everything that I'm doing, But I'm blessed with that. They're very supportive. And then also, they allow you to walk your own journey. All right? Nobody's going to ask you to be a professor. I'm a professor, so you must also be a professor. This is what you want to do. They're going to support you. And they'll provide you with all the support that you need to achieve whatever it is. My mom supports me in everything that I say I want to be this. She will sit down and ask me, so what do you, when that question comes up, I'm like, so you mean you were actually listening to what it was that I was saying? She will ask me, what exactly do you need to be able to prosper in this thing, and how can I help you? That was how my father was. That's how my mother was. That's how I live with being their daughter. I hope that has satisfied you.
Thank you so much. Because sometimes some people don't know what it means to live with great people, legends in the real sense. If you have not read any of our father's book, I dare say you've not read it in your life. Okay, so make sure you look for those great books. Now, it would be injustice, Emma, if you don't talk about the Covenant Community Group.
Oh, total injustice.
Not just the HR group, the community group in general, and then of course the HR group. If you have slides or anything, also feel free. I would like people in the HR mentorship and everybody on this call to also take advantage, because we are going to be big on it as we move on in the next few days.
Yeah. So the CCG, and I have my logo up there. You can see the logo is there. All right, is a community of over 7,000, probably up to 10,000 people who come together twice a year. All right, we have about 60 different groups. There's something for everybody. You're a corporate professional, you're in the health sector, you're in the tech sector, you're in the business world, you're an entrepreneur. This is the place where you want to gather. All right, you're going to be together for 8 weeks. All right, we start in September this year. We have 2 cohorts every year, March and September. It is totally free. All you have to do is register, and it's free. You're admitted. We admit everybody. You don't have to be. It's driven by the Covenant Nation, which is of course a church community. But you know what? We accept everybody from any background that you come from. we will accept you. All right. And right now, registration is on. One of the things that I should have talked about when I was making this presentation is this. One of the fastest ways that gets you ahead in life is to be part of a community. All right. It is that community. In that community, you meet people. All right. Because I always tell people the solution to your problem may be sitting right next to you. So anytime you get yourself into an environment where you are sitting next to a person, make sure you introduce yourself to that person and get talking. All right. Because for all you know, that person might be the solution to your problem. I remember Yemi's this HR mentorship group that you people, I hope you're not you anyway, because you're here, I know you're not joking with it. I remember there's somebody, one of our leaders, who was in that community. She was even Yemi's leader. She saw an advert on Yemi's, this HR mentorship group. She saw an advert advertising for, it was a major job opportunity. She said, okay, well, it's been advertised on the HR mentorship group. Let me just apply. Let me get in. Let me see if I can get in. She got in. Major appointment. So what are you going to learn when you join? You're going to meet people who will help you, who will lift you up. You're going to meet people who will be able to give you advice, who will be able to help you when you're going through the most difficult solutions and situations that you may encounter in your life. All right. So join the community. Be part of it. You don't have to pay. If you want to join Ikoyi Club or any of those clubs, you have to pay hundreds of thousands of naira to enter those clubs. We're inviting you and we're saying that you should come and be part of that community. And I'm especially inviting you, of course, because this is the HR community and I'm the governor of the HR community. I'm inviting you specially to join the TCN HR professionals community. All right. You will meet people like me there. You will meet Yemi. You will meet lots of other leaders who will be able to help you to progress and advance in your careers. I think, Yemi, have you posted the link to the community to register? All right. I think it's TCN
yes,
TCNcommunities.org. Yes, so you can register there. Okay.
Yes, I posted it. Okay, good. Shoya Mimo said, yes, so TCN community group led me to where I am today in my HR journal. Okay, so I think we have one or two questions on the chat box. Let me see. I'll read this one out. Sheung says, great teaching, our mentor. In your trainings, what learning management system have you seen work as an accompaniment? Okay, have you seen work that is cost effective? Could you recommend a knowledge management system as well, please? That's
okay. So you see, it's very difficult to answer that question without, first of all, I'm very careful about answering such questions. All right, because normally what we would do if we were going to your organization to advise you on what learning management system is best for you is to do a diagnostic. Everything depends on what people have to learn and how they have to learn it. Do you understand? You can't put training in a one size fits all box. For some people, it's workshop training, all right, being in a workshop environment that works. For some other organizations, it's doing LMS training that works. Somebody shared something very interesting with me the other day. She had asked us to come and do something for her, and then something happened. We couldn't go through with it, and at the end of the day, she said, "You know what we decided on doing? We decided that the best thing that would suit our organization is to use Udemy." That was what she said. She said that is what will work for our own organization and for the particular situation that we're facing right now in our organization. So get in touch with me. All right, this is not the kind of discussion that we can, get in touch with me offline. Or private chat me if you are in the TCN community or HR mentorship, or you're on LinkedIn. Connect with me. Let's talk a little bit more. I need to understand what exactly it is that you're trying to achieve with your learning. And then when I understand it, I'll be able to say, this is the best system. Use this one, use this LMS, use this one, or don't use an LMS at all. This is probably what you should be using to be doing your learning in your organization. Because what I found out is sometimes people spend a lot of money deploying systems that don't work. So you need to be very careful about that. Okay? I hope I've been able to help you there. All right? They spend a lot of money. And then at the end of the day, the program doesn't work because they haven't done that diagnostic, first of all, to be able to determine what system is really required and what would really match your organization. Okay? So that's how I would answer that question.
Okay, thank you so much. Somebody asked here that can you give examples of HR journal? For that person, I've dropped some journals on the
Yeah,
group.
somebody has done that. Somebody has talked about Elsevier. I use Sage a lot. I use Sage
Yes,
a lot.
Sage.
You find, and then there's what is this other one called? Oh, I've forgotten it now, and I use it all the time. But Sage is the number one. Elsevier too is very, very
Elsevier,
good.
very good.
All right, Elsevier is
Direct.
fantastic. Yes, Elsevier is fantastic. All right, I use Sage. There are many journals. Okay, what I'm going to do is that I will give me 24 hours. I'll drop you a list of about 10 journals that you can check. All right, that can. But you know, I'll tell you something also about journals. I'll let you into a little secret. One of the reasons why I can read journals a lot is because I'm an alumni of 2 London universities, okay, or 2 universities, UK universities, and they give their alumni access to certain, not all journals, to certain journals. So that is why I can continue to read journals even after I have left university. Why am I warning you about this? You'll find that if you want to read some of these journals, they will tell you to pay a fee. Yemi is the journal master. So he can provide you with some. Yemi publishes a lot. I don't know why he doesn't share his. Yemi is a published. I don't know how many journals he has that he has. Research articles that he has, and in peer-reviewed journals, so not just any journal. Another place you can go to. 2 places where you can go to where you can access journals. The only problem is that they might not be peer-reviewed, but at least you may get some peer-reviewed journals, meaning that they have not been assessed and checked to see if they are up to standard, if they meet academic research standards. Another place where you can go to is ResearchGate. I use ResearchGate a lot because there are a lot of peer-reviewed journals that have been uploaded on ResearchGate. Another place, so I'm giving you the places you can go to where you will not be asked to pay money or you will not be asked to pay a lot of money. Scribd, Scribd, Scribd. Let me see if I can put that in the chat. There are some journals, you will find that there are some journals that sometimes that, peer-reviewed journals that they tend to upload in Scribd. And then you can also check academia.edu. That is another place where you can go to find journals where they will not demand that you pay money, okay? Because they will ask you to pay money, and sometimes one journal can be, you tell them how much is one journal. All right, one journal could be like $30-something or $40-something just for. In fact, some journals could be 300 and something journals and dollars just for one journal. Okay, so I hope that helped.
All right, thank you so much. Just to mention, Michael sends his regards. HR with EM. He says well done. Just wanted to point that out. We have
Hi, Emmanuel. How are you?
On this call, I can see some of my colleagues from Lagos Business School, Madam Wiggle, the HR manager, LBS. I celebrate you. Thank you so much for joining this call. Quite a number of people on this call. In fact, I may enter trouble if I say I want to be saying hi to everyone. I can also see Madam Adiola. She's an elected council member, one of the governing council member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. Adiola Adekwega, thank you so much, elected council member, CIPM. Thank you for joining us on this call. I can see people like Olusegun. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me just see a few people I can also see some of my current students. Gideon Remigius, I say hello to you. Good evening. Thank you for joining this call. I apologize if I skip your name just coming through. All right, thank you so much. Is there anybody, who would like to say something? Maybe you have a comment.
Before we go, there's a young lady, I don't know whether it's a lady or a man who has asked a question. Toby Loba, it's a very interesting question, and I just want to answer it because it seems to be something that somebody is asking about how they can transition to HR. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I caught my eye and I thought that I would answer that. How you can transition to HR? Should I intern? Should I whatever it is? And yes, it is a good idea to think of internship as a way of transitioning into HR. Okay, so there are many ways to do it. Join a community like this one. On that, in these communities, you will see job adverts. And then also there is an organization called Sheshewa. I always like to talk about Sheshewa. Sheshewa is managed by a lady called Toyi Shodipe. Toyi is one of our leaders in the TCN HR community. Sheshewa is an internship. Oh, please forgive me. Sorry, I always say that my mom's Yoruba, and my Yoruba relatives will one day they will just come and tell me, Emma, we're putting you in Yoruba school and you have to be there for the next 1 year, whether you like it or not. So join that organization. It's an internship system. What they do is they match you to, so if you join the organization, you let them know I'm interested in HR, I'm interested in going in this way or in that way. They would match you to an organization that is looking for interns in that area. And I think that they're paid internship opportunities. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to make sure that you also get your certifications, all right? So that you let people know you're ready, that you have some level of, so do your STRIM, your CIPM, HRCI. It all depends on where you want to practice. If you want to practice in Nigeria, you've got to make sure you get that CIPM. It is one thing, and I know CIPM, they're going to become very aggressive. I'm supporting them on that. Like, you want to be on the managerial track, you have to have a CIPM, okay? So you start thinking about that, doing your CIPM. If you want to go abroad, you want to Japan, you need to start thinking about STRIM and HRCI and all of that, okay? So these are the things that show that you are ready and that you can transit to HR, okay? And then network. Link with people, link with HR leaders. Let them know that you are ready to be in HR. They might not have an HR opportunity open at that time, but you know what? If you keep networking and you keep making yourself visible, I cannot talk too much about this. I cannot talk enough about visibility, making yourself visibility within that space that you want to be in. All right. So make yourself visible in HR. Post on LinkedIn regularly. Comment on the pages. Emmanuel is here. He's one of the LinkedIn. Okay, Emmanuel is one of the top LinkedIn visibility people. Post on his comments whenever he's there. And so that people get to know you as an HR person, so that when we are looking to fill in vacancies for HR, you're going to be the first person that will come up on the list. Okay.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have anything to say? Anything to say? Anything to say? Going. Does anyone have anything, any feedback, any comments, appreciation? Okay. I would like to say thank you once again. I've dropped the link for sheshewa.org on the group. Fortunately, I also know them personally. The founder is also a very good friend of mine. The world is indeed a small world. Okay. So below, you say your other question has not been answered. You may have to type that other question now. Okay. Ogundare Abayomi, if you want, please unmute and speak quickly. You are recognized. Ogundare Abayomi, please.
All right, thank you very much. I really do appreciate this session. As much as I joined the late because I traveled, I must really commend your effort, and you've really given a level of exposition that I feel would take most of us throughout the work of this week. So briefly, I really have a question, and my question actually goes towards this employment record or employee record of a team. So basically, if as an HR person, I leave my current organization and travel abroad, is it still possible to work remotely wherever I am?
Very possible. Very possible. You know what I'm going to do? I'm even going to try and see if I can find some material and post it on the group. It's very possible. And how did I even come to know? I sat through a webinar on this, and that was how I got to know about the employee of record, because I wanted to understand how companies manage their diversity. So you have companies that have different people working in different parts of the world. And I wanted to understand that. And what was even fueling my desire to understand that was taxation. Every organization, every country has their tax laws. So if an employee is working for you, that employee is in Canada and you are in Nigeria, you are the employer in Nigeria, the employee is in Canada. Just giving Canada as an example. Canada has its own tax laws. employment tax laws. Nigeria has its own employment tax laws. And if you're not careful, you could end up paying double taxation. The employer of record comes in the middle to solve this problem. They act as the employer, say in Canada, all right? But between, what will happen is that there's a tripartite agreement between us, who are here in Nigeria, the employer of record, and you. So to all intents and purposes, you are the employee of that employer of record, but the employer of record is serving you here in Nigeria. So it's a very complex thing, but you know, I know that somebody here, I will try and get you, because they contacted me and said they wanted me to join their governance team. All right, they're starting it here in Nigeria. So you might want to find out a little bit more about that. And then a lot of HR managers need to do studies on the employer of record so that you don't lose talent. You can be in Canada and you can still work for the organization that you're working, So you can have that deal that, you know what, I know I'm going to Canada, I know I'm Japan, but you know what, I can still work for you. How can we do it? But it takes an HR manager that has that, you understand what I'm saying, has that understanding. And this is why I'm saying, my darling HR professionals, up your game. You can't be in personal. A lot of us are still practicing HR the way that it was practiced in the early 19th century. We've got to come to there's so much to learn about HR that is going on now. We've got to come to this time that we are in. So what I will do is I will try and get you some materials and read up on that. Okay, it's a bit legal, it's a little bit of HR, and it's a little bit of law. All right, and then finance, the three come together to make this thing that is now called the employer of record. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ima. We can't thank you enough. We have to end it here. We appreciate your time. I'm leaving you, Ima, and everyone on this call with this song. Have a great week. Bye.
So much, my brother, for bringing me.
Thank you so much, Isia Madiola. Thank you so much, ma'am.
When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, you made our way. And we're standing here only because you made our way. You made a way. Now we're here, looking back on where we come from. Because of you and nothing we've done to deserve the love and mercy you show. But your grace was strong enough to pick us up, and you made our way. When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, Lord, you made a way. And we're standing here, only because you made a way. When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, Lord, you made a way. And we're standing here, only because you made a way. And you move mountains, cause walls to fall. we're standing here only because you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made. You move mountains. You move mountains. You move mountains. You move mountains. You cause walls to fall. You cause walls to fall. You cause walls to fall. Hey, you cause walls to fall. And you cause chains to break. Hey, you cause chains to break. Hey, you cause chains to break. Hey, you cause. Hey, no, 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 no. Hey, and giants fall. Hey, giants fall. Giants fall. Giants fall. 'Cause you move mountains. You move mountains. And everything is easy for you. 'Cause you move. Yes, you move mountains. Mountains are moving. Mountains are moving. Mountains, you gotta see it in the spiritual realm. Mountains are moving. And strongholds are breaking.
Hello, Ima. Can you still hear me, Ima? Hello, Ima. Hello.
Good evening, sir. We can still hear you.
No, I'm trying to talk to the host so that she can end the meeting. The meeting is over. Thank you.
Omenina betodose, elana mashieka, oramanana betodose, etelebeleko banana ninese ninanina, maniesa mananieka, obrapapa. This life that I have is the life of God. This life that I have is the life of Christ. joy that I have. It's the joy of the whole Acha. In 1 minute, can you just lift your hands? Pray in the Spirit. Pray in the Spirit. Oh, bless His name. Oh, Rabashai. Oh, Kaparaniga Baso Meleteli Mahane. Lord, we acknowledge you for the life of God that is in us. Ambeleko Barate. Come on, open your mouth wide and give Him glory. Shanlegadabash. I'm the image of the Lord God. He gave me a priceless gift, the Holy Ghost.